Hey guys, welcome back. Now we're continuing the conversation on the 5x5 power prospecting system. And this is video 2, so if you missed the first video about the whole system and the list and the data, you want to really go back and watch that one before you dive into this one. But this video is about actually setting up the system and how you're going to start actually dialing, and how are you going to set everything up to start reaching out to that list and start actually setting appointments. Okay, so there's a couple of things that we want to do. We're focusing on S2, and if you have your resources, it'll say S2 on here, and that's actually the second part of setting up your system. Okay, so a couple of things that we want here. We want to look at when to call. Next, we're going to look at is where to call. Next, we're going to look at how to call. And lastly, we're going to look at some action items. Okay, now let's look at these as kind of like 4 blocks over here. Okay, the first thing that you gotta just absolutely take in if you want to be strong in prospecting is you gotta set up a consistent time block to call. This is the biggest place where people fail when it comes to lead generation and time blocking, is they don't set up consistent time blocks. And when you are starting to transition into this way of growth, meaning that, hey, you're going prospecting based versus marketing based, some of your marketing people are gonna probably fight you on this. I'm just gonna throw that out there. So you have to start understanding, okay, you may need to either look at hiring some different people to do this for you, or really have some conversations with your growth people to get them on board to start prospecting for you, because it's not it won't be natural to them. And there's very few people I have ever met that are actually excited about prospecting, right? Most people do not like to pick up the phone and try to set appointments, especially like off of cold calls. So it may be very kind of different for you. It may be very unnatural. It may feel like I don't want to do this at all. But the only alternative you have is either learn how to do this and grow faster at a lower cost, or go spend marketing dollars somewhere else and again start fighting with, like, can you even track your results? Is there ROI? And you're going to be growing slower with much more expenses. Okay, so that's the 2 options you're looking at here. So let's talk about jumping in. Right now, you got a time block, right? So the first one is, get your time blocks set up. Blocks. Okay, get your time block set up. So that's kind of the when to call, right? Now, I would recommend maybe calling about 9 to 11 every day and just saying, like, look, Monday through Friday, every day from 9 to 11, we're going to be doing outbound calls, touching base with agents, building relationships, and setting appointments, right? Now, you may say, okay, hey, it's going to be, it's 11 to 1 for us, or it's like 2 to 4. It doesn't matter exactly what your time block is, as long as you stick to it. Sometimes, statistically, you may actually do better, in the 11 to 1 time block. But here's the thing about the morning time block is typically from 9 to 11, you're going to have less distractions than any other time in the day. Usually the longer the day goes on, the more the distraction level starts building, right? A lot of agents are also trained to do their lead generation from 9 to 11, so they get it. They understand, like, hey, look, from 9 to 11 is kind of where we're building our business, so that'd be a time that you reach out to them, and if they take your call, just keep it short and sweet and just set that appointment with them. Like, they get what you're doing then. Like, they're doing the same thing, right? So the first thing is you got to choose your time block. So your growth person may say, like, hey, I don't want to do it from 9 to 11. I want to do it from 11 to 1. Doesn't matter. 2 to 4, doesn't matter. As long as it's consistent. Every day, the same time. Now, again, I'll give you a tip. The best time for consistency is going to be 9 to 11. Because the later in the day, the more things happen, okay? There's just more chaos that can happen. So usually in the morning time is going to be your best time to be consistent, right? All right, so second thing we're going to look at is kind of a consistent place to call. Now you may be thinking, okay, how important is this? Like, I can really call from anywhere. Yeah, you can, but you're going to get better results having a consistent place to call. So a couple of things that we want to look at here is, number one, get a stand-up desk. Okay. So you can see right now, like I'm actually standing behind a stand-up desk. This little desk right here is actually my prospecting desk, right? I bought this desk probably 6 years ago for 20 bucks from somebody else. 20 bucks, 6 years ago. It's a great little desk. But I was at a Keller Williams office and somebody said, hey, get a stand-up desk and start lead generating. And I said, okay, I'm going to do that. So I walked around the office. I knew this agent who this desk belonged to didn't lead generate because they were never in the office and they didn't sell much real estate. So I just called them up and I said, hey, I'll give you 20 bucks for your desk. They said, fine. I actually rolled it. It's on casters. I rolled into my office and I started prospecting. And within 2 years, we're selling over like 120 houses a year, right? That business was built standing behind this little desk, and I've built other businesses standing behind this very little desk. So there's something special that happens when you start prospecting behind a stand-up desk. One, you're on your feet. Like there's actually a saying, like think on your feet, right? When you're on your feet, you're mentally going to be processing faster than when you're actually sitting down, and it conveys a higher level of energy, right? So when you know that, hey, for the next 2 hours I'm going to just lead generate, get a stand-up desk, stand behind the desk, and you know, like, hey, for the next 2 hours, I'm not sitting down or visiting with people or anything like that. I'm just focusing on making calls behind my stand-up desk, standing up, higher energy, right? All right, next is we're going to talk about high energy. I will tell you this, that when you're doing like prospecting calls, it takes a high level of energy, right? You'll burn out fast doing this. And a lot of it is just kind of like your mental and emotional energy that you're burning through, right? So just understand, like when you get ready for that, you may want to have a couple of bottles of water ready. You may want to have like your supplies ready. I'll show you this real quick, right? Okay. See this? Like I've got my water right here and I've got my green drink right here. Like I've been pounding these because we've been shooting videos for the last like 3 or 4 hours. It takes a lot of energy. So I want to make sure that I keep my energy up, and I've got my supplies right here that I don't have to run to the store or go somewhere else in the office. I got everything that I need right here to keep my energy levels up. All right, just want to show you that. Okay, so want to keep high energy. Like the next thing is we want to limit or completely cut out any kind of distractions, right? No distractions. When you set up this place to call, whether it's you doing this or your growth person doing this, like you want them to be in a place where there's not going to be any interruptions, because I promise you from experience that when you're doing this kind of work, you're going to look for any kind of excuse to get in the way. So if there's kind of any kind of excuse like, oh, I can't find a phone number, I can't do this, like I can't, whatever it is, like they're gonna get distracted, and the next thing they're playing on Facebook and they're messing around instead of like getting out there and lead generating to build your business faster, right? So make sure that you have a stand-up desk, you have your snacks, your water, all the supplies you need to maintain a high level of energy for those 2 hours, and then that there's no distractions, right? So when that person, or if it's you or your growth person, when you're prospecting, everybody in the organization, leave them alone because they're doing their most important work. Like that work is worth thousands of dollars, an hour. So do not interrupt it for anything, okay? All right, so the next thing we're gonna look at is actually how to call. All right, we're going to talk about how to call, okay? Now, so some of you may be using like a voice over IP system, right? That's okay. Like some voice over IP systems have like recording devices in them, stuff like that, where you can actually record the call, go back and listen to quality, so you can look at something like that. I mean, it could be like a cell phone, right? So it could even be a cell phone, or it can be like an auto dialer, right? Now, if you're going to get serious about prospecting, I would 100% say get an auto dialer. Now you may be saying, okay, Dirk, what the heck is an auto dialer, right? An auto dialer is a software system that you can go on. It's like most of them are cloud-based systems that you can actually buy into for a subscription. You get a login, just like a lot of like CRMs that you use, but this system is actually designed that has internal dialers built into it, where when I have my list and everything ready in my auto dialer, I can just take my phone and put my headset on and actually turn my phone upside down. I log everything with the auto dialer from my computer, and I hit start dialing. It calls my cell phone, connects with my cell phone, and from there I actually control everything on my laptop. So I don't have to like keep dialing numbers on my cell phone and hit stop every time and kind of like have that inefficiency. I put my phone down and put it in my pocket. I got a headset on, and I'm doing everything from my laptop at that point. Now the cool thing about an auto dialer is, remember when we talked about the list? If you have an auto dialing system, you can take that whole list and dump it into the auto dialer. and I can even, like, before my call session, set up who I'm going to call that day. And I'm typically going to have some notes about who that person is, what I'm going to talk to them about. I can actually upload my script into the auto dialer, and then as soon as I talk to them, I can mark like, hey, I talked to them, or I left a voicemail, or there's no answer, you know, go to the next call, and it'll go to the next call. So think about an auto dialer system as a way of just like massively increasing your efficiency, right? So typically, if you're dialing with a cell phone, you may be kind of hitting maybe 6 to 8 contacts per hour usually. On an auto dialer, you can maybe get that up to 15 to 18 contacts per hour. And if we actually look at dials per hour, like just dials, on a cell phone you may be able to kind of get 15 to 20. On an auto dialer you can exceed 100 dials per hour, right? So you can get a single line dialer, or you can actually even get like up to a triple line or a 5-line dialer, where it'll dial 3 to 5 numbers at the same time, and the first person to answer is going to connect you to that person, right? So a lot of top real estate agents use auto dialers, okay? I would say like most top producing agents use auto dialers in their business. We're actually going to make another video about the Mojo system that we use. So in my companies, I still use Mojo. I've used Mojo in BurgFlow. We use it in IEB. I've used it as a CEO of a brokerage company. I've used it as an agent. I mean, I've been using Mojo systems for 6 years now. We want to kind of show you that system and just kind of like how it works. Just FYI, we don't have a relationship with Mojo. It's just an incredible system that we'll share if you use it. It's very cost effective, and we'll show you like how to upload your list, how to go through your list, set up calls, and we'll even run some live calls. So we're going to be shooting that here soon. I'm not sure exactly how soon, so just keep checking back if it's not in the resource section now. But that video is going to be dropping at some point. Okay. So you're kind of choosing, okay, how we're going to call. You're getting very specific on this. You're not leaving it to chance, right? So like, hey, we're going to call from 9 to 11. We're going to have a stand-up desk in that room where nobody's going to interrupt us, and we're going to be using a VoIP system. We're going to use a cell phone or an auto dialer. Like, it's very specified. There's no wiggle room in this. Like, this is your prospecting system, right? All right. Now the last thing we're going to look at is actually like action items. Okay. Number one, when you have a conversation with somebody, when you're talking to somebody, you always set a follow-up. Always. Right? Because, W there, follow-up. The secret sauce, like the magic sauce, is the follow-up. You've got about a 1% chance, 1 to 2% chance of setting an appointment on the first time you cold call somebody. Really low, right? I'll write that out. 1 to 2% chance first call. Okay? Now here's the cool thing, right? And that's actually first contact, not just first call, but first contact, right? I'm gonna write contact there. Contact. Here's the cool thing. This goes up to 80% chance by the 6th contact. Okay? So think about this. A lot of times, like, you may have tried to reach out to somebody, and the first time you talk to them, it didn't go, and then you never call them back. You gotta call them back, talk to them, 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 call them back, talk to them. By the 6th time, you got an 80% chance of converting them to an appointment. So strong prospectors know that the magic is in the follow-up. You gotta follow up with somebody. So every time you talk to somebody, you're gonna set a follow-up action. Next, like, take notes. Okay. Every time you talk to somebody, you take notes, because especially if you have like an auto dialer system, you can start kind of building a profile of the conversation that you've had with this person, right, with this agent. So every time you talk to him, you're taking notes. And I mean, it could be something like, hey, I'm really busy because my kiddo is sick, he's got the flu right now, or hey, we're going to a soccer tournament or something like that, and you're just putting in the notes, right? Now you may be calling this agent back like 3 weeks later, and you're calling him up and you're saying, hey Joe, this is Dirk. Just want to give you a shout. I know the last time we were talking, hey, you were busy taking your kid to the soccer tournament, and I just want to see if this is a better time, right? By the way, how did the soccer tournament go, right? Because when you can have those kind of conversations with people, it makes it feel way more relational, right? So now they're like, wow, they actually remembered that I had a kid that was soccer, or like my kid was sick, or I was doing this, or I'm going on vacation. So hey, how's vacation? I know you guys were about to leave. You're really busy. Did you guys have a great time? All that kind of stuff. You're making notes, right? And then the conversation happens again, and you're making notes for the next call. So every time you talk to somebody, you set a follow-up and you make notes, right? The third thing that you do is your action items. right? So every time you have a call, there's going to be an action item. So the action item may be like, hey, send her a handwritten note, mail them something, send them a little gift. You know, it's just kind of like, hey, there's some kind of follow-up action that needs to happen because you had a great conversation, right? Now, you're using all of this to essentially get to one point, and that is like you want to get face-to-face with this person. You want to get a one-on-one appointment. So as you're setting up this whole deal, like what we're going to be talking about next is kind of like how to start actually going into like the scripting of how to get the appointment. But here's the thing, make sure you time block, make sure you know where you're going to call, you have that special designated desk, you may even have kind of an extra whiteboard or something like that you can make notes on your top prospects. You're going to choose how you're going to call, and then you're going to make sure that your action items, you always set a follow-up call, you always take notes, and you do your action items. So this is going to be your actual calling system. So don't go any further than this without like stopping right here and setting up the system and getting really clear on what this means, okay? So the next video we're going to talk about scripting, but that's what we're going to pause it for right now. Make sure you get your system set up.